The whispers have grown louder, the tension in the hallowed halls of Sandringham palpable enough to cut with a butter knife. And now, sources close to the very heart of the royal family reveal a warning so stark, so utterly unprecedented, that it sends shivers down the spine of anyone who understands the intricate dance of palace power. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, Mountbatten-Windsor by lineage, has reportedly been told, in no uncertain terms, that if he continues to push his demands regarding his new accommodation and the precise way things must be done, he could find himself in the most unroyal of lodgings, a staff caravan on the sprawling Sandringham estate. Yes, you heard that right. A caravan. The sheer audacity of such a threat speaks volumes, painting a vivid picture of just how far the Duke's fortunes have fallen, and more critically, how his long-standing behavior, particularly towards those who serve him, has finally reached a breaking point. Let's rewind a moment and set the scene for this extraordinary royal drama. Our story finds Prince Andrew no longer ensconced in the relatively comfortable Wood Farm, but rather transplanted to Marsh Farm, a significantly smaller, more modest property nestled within the verdant acres of Sandringham. This relocation, a direct consequence of his departure from the much grander Royal Lodge, was far from a simple change of address. Oh no, my dears, it was a whole saga in itself. Before Marsh Farm could even be deemed fit for habitation, it required an extensive overhaul, a veritable symphony of renovation. Reports detailed the necessity of complete rewiring, meticulous plastering work, and even the rather alarming discovery of asbestos that needed careful, costly abatement. This wasn't just a quick lick of paint and a new throw pillow. This was a substantial, intricate process designed merely to elevate the house to a truly livable standard. But even with all that foundational work underway, the Duke, it seems, wasn't quite satisfied. According to the ever-watchful Mail on Sunday, Andrew allegedly continued to press for additional upgrades, requests that stretched far beyond the realm of basic necessity. One particular anecdote that truly caught the collective royal eye involved his unwavering insistence on transporting a collection of rather magnificent curtains all the way from Royal Lodge to Marsh Farm. And then, as if the move itself wasn't enough, demanding that these grand draperies be altered to fit the much diminished windows of his new, smaller abode. This seemingly minor detail, we are told, came at a considerable, indeed, eye-watering cost. Then there were the artworks, a veritable gallery of them, also painstakingly relocated. Some of these pieces, rumor has it, are so vast, so imposing, that they quite simply dwarf the walls and rooms of Marsh Farm, creating an almost comical mismatch between art and architecture. The entire delicate operation of relocation, involving a specialist firm known as Gander & White, reportedly incurred expenses in the region of a cool $15,000 for the dedicated team. And who, you might ask, is footing this rather princely bill? None other than King Charles III himself, who is said to be growing increasingly exasperated by what he perceives as a relentless stream of excessive and utterly unnecessary demands. A source close to the monarch reportedly confided that His Majesty simply does not wish to continue subsidizing these lavish whims, especially given that he had already made private financial provisions for his younger brother after Andrew's ignominious step back from official royal duties. So, the stage is set. A demanding duke, a frustrated king, and a smaller, but still costly, new home. The tension, you see, was already simmering. But what has truly brought this simmering pot to a full, rolling boil is the perennial issue of Andrew's conduct towards staff. Because while the current domestic squabbles at Marsh Farm are certainly causing ripples, they are merely the latest chapter in a much longer, deeply troubling narrative that refuses to be forgotten. For many years now, former palace employees, those who have toiled in the shadow of royalty, have been asked to recount their experiences of working for Prince Andrew. And what consistently emerges from these testimonials is a remarkably uniform and frankly damning picture. Consider Dickie Arbiter, a man who served as press secretary to the late, beloved Queen Elizabeth II for over a decade. Arbiter is known for his generally positive, even affectionate, assessments of the senior royals. He has, for instance, spoken with genuine admiration about King Charles III, describing him as extraordinarily hardworking and deeply committed, often toiling late into the night for the good of the realm. He has also recalled, with warmth, the thoughtful gestures of Princess Diana, even reminiscing about a delightful birthday celebration she personally organized for him. But when the conversation inevitably turns to Prince Andrew, the tone, my friends, shifts dramatically. In an interview with the newspaper, Arbiter did not mince his words, painting a portrait of the Duke as arrogant and entitled. He went even further, suggesting with a knowing wink that those currently laboring within palace communications are likely breathing a collective sigh of relief now that they no longer have the unenviable task of managing the constant stream of issues surrounding him. This isn't just a casual observation. This is a very specific, pointed critique emanating from someone who is not only deeply embedded within the very fabric of the institution, but also privy to its innermost workings. Then we have Di Davies, the formidable figure responsible for royal protection throughout the tumultuous 1990s. This was a man who oversaw hundreds of dedicated officers, each tasked with safeguarding the lives of the most senior members of the royal family. Davies, too, has publicly stated that the vast majority of the royals were, in his experience, perfectly pleasant to deal with. He described King Charles as unfailingly polite and spoke positively about Princess Diana as well. But once again, when the name Andrew is uttered, the language takes a sharp, undeniable turn. Davies characterized him as rude and dismissive. And let's be clear, this isn't coming from some distant observer or a gossiping bystander. This is the first-hand account of someone who worked directly alongside the Duke, day in and day out, in high-pressure, often delicate situations. Now, imagine taking these long-standing, consistent descriptions of Andrew's past conduct and placing them directly alongside the reports of what is reportedly unfolding right now at Marsh Farm. Suddenly, the pieces of the puzzle begin to click into place, and you start to understand precisely why these renewed concerns are bubbling to the surface. Because, according to these well-placed sources, the issue isn't merely relegated to the dusty annals of history. There are fresh suggestions that Andrew's rather lofty expectations regarding how things should be managed and executed continue to create friction, particularly with the staff assigned to his new residence. While the precise, granular details remain shrouded in the customary palace secrecy, Buckingham Palace, as expected, has politely declined to comment, leaving a certain level of tantalizing uncertainty. What we do know is that a very pointed warning has indeed been delivered. This wasn't a public declaration, nor a formal, official statement. It was a clear, unambiguous message, delivered behind the closed, velvet-draped doors of power, indicating that his behavior, most especially towards those in service, is now under an intensified and unforgiving spotlight. This heightened scrutiny, of course, arrives at a moment when Prince Andrew's standing within the royal family is already diminished to an almost unprecedented degree. He is, let us not forget, no longer a working royal. He was stripped of his cherished military titles and patronages, and he made the difficult, if not inevitable, decision to step back from all public duties following the deeply damaging revelations surrounding his association with the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. While he has consistently denied allegations of wrongdoing, and certain aspects of the saga remain hotly disputed, the profound, unignorable impact on his public role has been starkly evident for all to see. What remains, then, is a complex, delicate private arrangement. King Charles, in an act of familial obligation, has permitted his brother to reside within the confines of the Sandringham estate, and has, moreover, extended a certain level of financial support. However, it is becoming increasingly clear that this wellspring of support is far from limitless. And this, my friends, is where the current situation morphs into something far more sensitive, far more precarious. When reports surface suggesting that the king is already chafing under the weight of renovation costs and Andrew's seemingly endless additional requests, and when, concurrently, fresh concerns about his treatment of staff are being voiced, it coalesces into a very specific, very potent kind of pressure. This isn't the roaring gale of public outrage, but rather the insidious, relentless internal pressure that can erode even the strongest of foundations. There is a palpable sense within the royal household that such long-standing issues cannot simply be glossed over, and that King Charles, as the reigning monarch, must ultimately take decisive action. This is not just about Andrew's personal finances, but about the bedrock principles of respect and conduct within the institution itself. And woven through all of this, of course, is the ever-present, ever-fragile element of royal reputation, an element that simply cannot be ignored. Even though Prince Andrew has largely retreated from the public gaze, these stories, like persistent ghosts, continue to surface. We hear of former staff members bravely speaking out, of anonymous sources revealing the simmering tensions, and of these extraordinary warnings being issued from the very top. And while the palace, in its time-honored tradition, maintains a dignified silence, these narratives, these whispers and revelations, inexorably shape how the entire situation is perceived, both within the gilded cages of royalty and by the wider world beyond. At this juncture, it is no longer about a singular misstep, a solitary unfortunate incident. It is about a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior, meticulously described over many, many years, now colliding head-on with a critically sensitive moment. Andrew's forced relocation to Marsh Farm and is significantly diminished, almost non-existent, standing within the royal family. And that, my dear readers, is precisely why even the seemingly minutiae of everyday life, how a renovation is managed, or indeed, how a member of staff is addressed, are now attracting such intense, unwavering attention. The question that hangs heavy in the air, then, is whether these unprecedented warnings, delivered with such a dramatic flourish, will truly instigate a fundamental change in Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. Or are we merely witnessing another act in a long-running play, another echo of a pattern that, despite all the seismic shifts around him, refuses to be broken? The saga of the Duke of York, it seems, continues to unfold, a compelling and often uncomfortable testament to the enduring complexities of life within the world's most famous family.